So in this week's offering, I can show you what's inside this box and just drawing a baseline really for further explorations into the Bible. Where am I at now with the Bible, those books, this biblical story? Hello, Reverend Grace here. How are you all doing? What's in the box? Okay. So the last week's offering was me cutting the Bible up back into its original books. Ooh, this is like a bit out of order. Okay, bear with. Okay, so now they're in order. So this is all of the Old Testament back into the little books. Now, whilst that is fatter than the Bible book that I'd started out with in the beginning, when I'm taking just one of these, it's really thin. So there's so much meat to get through in these these texts. Even though it is like a small pamphlet, and some of these are 1 pages. In fact, there's 2 that I've put 2 books in together because of how the pages separated and the fact that they was just so short. So excuse me, I think Zephaniah or Zechariah, you've ended up in a double edition, and 2 others. Oh, Jonah and Micah. Sorry, Jonah and Micah, you are paired up. Oh, Habakkuk, which just makes me laugh because one of the guys, the characters in Life of Brian was called Habakkuk. And Zephaniah. Yeah, sorry, Zephaniah. But anyway, I'm sure you all get on and you'll be fine. Oh, and Haggai and Zechariah. Yeah, them 2. Anyway, this is it. So, since starting doing this, I've had all kinds of things pop up in my learning. Paul is somebody I haven't wanted to actually. I've been sort of deviating away from looking at Paul and getting to grips with that. But I realise that's because I now have a bias from people that I've listened to on different channels and people that have put up lectures and talks and presentations and things. Scholarly ones, as well as just people that are, really interested in studying all this sort of thing. So there's a lot of things like Paul that I'm really. I see this, I see that argument. My brain tries to find a way around leveling those 2 and where I sit. But yeah. It really, everything comes down to me reading these texts. Now, this is the Old Testament, so let's have a little finishing off of the New Testament. Okay, so a lot less books, but still quite a few to do. And I've got the little names for the front of each book to go on. For some reason, I've got a spare, so I'm either going to swap one out or, I don't know, we'll see. There might be a pair in here for some reason. It's a bit of work. I knew it would be, but the pages are that different in size. So there's been a little bit of trimming going on, but actually in most cases, I can keep the top book name and chapter, and I can keep the little reference points, the bits in the bottom of the page. It just fits in, but it's still a bit bigger, but it doesn't matter because it fits within the cover. A little bit of chalky, never hurts. Right, so something that I keep, because as I'm sitting doing this, again, like cutting up the actual books into books, this is quite a repetitive, meditative exercise in itself, putting these books into their covers. The whole time I am pondering and thinking. And what strikes me is that there's a lot of the content, or it's not even, actually content in general these days, is as if like there's always some massive conspiracy theory about everything. And was it like a Sherlock Holmes thing that he just said the simplest thing will be the answer? The simplest, most logical thing will generally be the answer. And so I guess we've got a lot to wade through these days in terms of like the biblical, spiritual, theological, not so much, well, yeah, and theological actually. It's like most people have got a point to prove, or they are, you know, quite fervent in their beliefs in religious terms, and so they really stand by that and they speak about it with some conviction. And so that can be, it can be a thing that you really you can get caught up in. Oh, I remember now. I was putting all the extra sheets to one side. Now I've learnt not too much glue, because otherwise you have to flipping prise the little pages open. But you need enough glue that it really gets in there and sticks to the card. So yeah, doing this, it's been a really meditative sort of experience or exercise in itself, because it's really repetitive and gives you time. Well, it's given me the time to think about this. That looks like a tiny amount of glue, but I bet when you jam it in here, it's quite a lot. Yeah, so in this time to ponder and think, and I'm thinking about all the stuff that I've already learned from amazing people that are doing great stuff on YouTube. But it's for each of us, to my mind, it's for each of us to make our own sense of it. So whilst I've learnt so much, you know, people have their own things, so it's all quite conflicting. Plus the fact that even within the scholars, they're like, no, my way's absolutely right. God, it's a bit like religion, isn't it? They've got the text or the evidence to prove it, but equally there'll be another, you know, PhD somebody or other. Like, okay, so you've got the likes of Jonathan Carrier, is it? And he just completely argues that the whole Jesus thing is farcical, it's a total myth, and he wasn't real. And I just think you might be ever so clever, and you might have found maybe it is a bit like Israel Anderson said, if you take enough snippets, you can make whatever religious cult you want from it. And maybe that's the same with history or something, that you only need to find the right bits to back up your hypothesis. Yeah. Maybe there's a bit of that going on. So anyway, whilst I am very grateful to these people for what I've learnt, sometimes because I've learnt what things aren't, or what I think they aren't, like they've got a part of the way there, but they're only looking at it from their focus point of study, or their tenure, or their already like biased beliefs. And so when they can speak really passionately, which is fantastic, it has you far more engaged in a talk than somebody's just drearing along. But it's, sometimes I just like get this sense. So say people that speak against St. Paul, and people, there's two YouTubers in particular, quite young. I'd say they're quite young. They look young, Americans. They don't work together. Well, no, they have done, actually. They have done videos together, I think. Anyway. They really sound credible. They really sound like, and I've learnt stuff from them that I don't doubt is not true. But when there's a thing of like, they're so, it's as if there's again, it's part of this like conspiracy thing with the Roman Catholic Church. So I don't doubt that there's some awful aspects of that institution, and they've used power and all the rest of it. But at the same time, sometimes I just think, is there like some aspects of it that are absolutely right? Now, one of those aspects actually being the people that belong to the church, the ordinary folk who rock up and sit in the pews of a week, because as much as they've signed up for that church, that could be the place where they just get to access and feels right for them to spend that time with God. And they like the rituals or this, I don't know what, for whatever reason. But you meet some of these people and you just think, oh, they're so lovely, and they're not what people say about the Catholic Church. So, yeah, or any of the churches. So, it's horses for courses, it's each for their own, isn't it? But what I'm seeing so much of is not just with religion and spirituality, with all kinds of things, is this just like there's a con going on all the time, that somebody's ripping somebody off, that somebody has had one over, somebody's diverted, deceiving, they're this, they're that. And I just think, I wonder if actually it's just part of the tapestry of it all, and it's not to be cherry-picked, but it is that a bit like if we're all aspects of, we've got an aspect of God in us or a God particle in us, which I don't doubt that we have. Whether you want to call that a bit of God is playing out in each of us, as in conscious trying to experience itself in the same way that God came here as Jesus, or whether it's the thing of you think of God as consciousness, and that's the thing that we need consciousness to be alive. Again, it's like a huge thing, isn't it? We can, you can get bogged down in it. But I don't know. How much is it a conspiracy, or how much is it about really just looking at all of what we've been presented with us? If we're in some kind of learning thing or some kind of cycle of how it's got to play out, if there is a God's master plan, I mean, that's something I want to look in the Bible. Is there a God's master plan mentioned? Because the Bible apparently, according to Israel Anderson, is not mentioned. Jesus says a lot of things about what's coming and what's going to happen, but no mention of there being this amazing book called the Bible, not even naming a thing as like it being a important book of scripture. Interestingly, no, I don't suppose he even mentions the word Torah. Was it called the Torah then? Pentateuch. Was it called that then? See, this is the sort of thing. Wow. But you've got to remember you've asked the question of when you're looking in a bit of the Bible. I'm sure I'll remember all my questions. I'm sure this is the other thing, you see. As if I'm thinking of this as some sort of spiritual experience doing this study in this way, then I also have to trust that, you know, I'm going to be shown what I'm meant to be shown. But yeah, this God's master plan thing, because if there really is a God's master plan, then you have to say that the war and everything, or wars and stuff like that, is part of it. That makes me think of the, now is it the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita? I think it's the Bhagavad Gita, where, now, what was he called? He was the king or the prince, and he was on one side and he was lined up for battle, and his family, basically, it's cousins and family members on the other side, and he doesn't want to go into war. And so I think he's talking to Shiva, and Shiva says to him, no, you have to do this. This is what you're born to do. And I know it's your family and it seems wrong, but this is what you're being called to do. This is the way of it. So, yeah, if Shiva was an avatar in the same way that Jesus was in his time and Buddha was in his time, then, yeah, maybe there's supposed to be war. Maybe this is supposed to be a thing of it. been learning something about Mary recently, and her mother Anna, so Jesus' mum and grandmother, and she's looking at linguistics and things in this book and names, and it comes up about the thing of with other priestesses and goddesses in this potentially a lineage coming as if avatars, same entity over and over again. It's the thing of the female being. I'm thinking of the Indian god, female god, that I can't for the life of me think what the name is, where she's like love and fertility and all of that, but also she's fire and wrath and war. And I always thought, crikey, how can that be the two in the same thing? And then more recently, where is it? Oh, I'm absolutely feasting on this book at the minute. Get rid of my tassel. Fantastic. Marguerite Mary Rigoglioso, PhD. The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception, Mary and the Lineage of Virgin Births. I've literally only started that a few days ago and I'm halfway through. This is unheard of. Oh, man. Such a good book. And, yeah, really interesting. Because I've had to think about it, and I've had to choose, like, where am I going to start in the Bible? I suppose the obvious point, and I guess most people when they're picking up the book, as in the Bible book with all the books in it in one, I guess they are thinking, well, you start at page 1 because that's where you start at. My supervisor this morning, she said to me, supervision for like my ministry work that I do. She said, oh yeah, maybe you should like redefine it again, like look at it in chronological order. So like the book of Esther would come a lot earlier than lots of the other books, because it would have done, anyway, she knows the history of this all far greater than I. But anyway, I've had a good contemplate on it. And ultimately for me, this is purely selfish. Ultimately for me, it's about Jesus' teachings. And that's what I'm quite fascinated with. I'm fascinated with him, the man, the missing years. No, obviously I'm not going to find those in the Bible. So I'm interested to know, I'm going to use Israel Anderson's 5 questions that he gives. Thank you, Israel. What's the questions? Another of my notebooks. Oh my God, I've got notebooks coming out my yin-yang these days. Right. What did Jesus say about himself? What did he say about his Father? What he came to do, where he came from, and what will soon take place? So those are certainly 5 starting points. And I'm going to start with the Gospels. And then I'm going to have to decide whether I really start digging into Paul or whether I go for Acts. I've got a sense that I'm going to start with Acts first, or go into the letters. So we're going to be looking at this virgin birth. We're going to be looking at, oh, it's all falling over. Okay, again, I'm not sure which gospel I want to start with. I'm just getting through these quickly, by the way, because some of these are so thin, I'm actually going to sellotape them in because it's not enough to tape, which I think is going to be most of these now. But what I think would be good is starting with a baseline of where I'm at. What are my beliefs about certain things? Where am I at with certain Christian concepts or things that I think I know about the Bible? What do I think I know? Yeah. What do I think I know? Okay, so to establish somewhat of a baseline on your perceptions and your current understandings of the Bible, a few questions. Okay. Which side do you fall? Bible, Metaphorical, allegorical, it's all made up nonsense, none of these people existed, none of it ever happened. Or it's absolutely true, it's historical, these things really happened, these people really existed, supernatural or otherwise. Oh yeah, so a bit of a mixed bag, because I have a thing that the Bible is the living word. I'm thinking that there is, wow, I don't, God, it's tricky. I do think that a lot of it is historical, even the stuff that sounds more supernatural. The more I go into this, the more I think that. I also think, because there is something special about this book. This book, well, the Bible, the canon of books. Of course, I've split it out into separate books. There is, there is something special going on with numbers. There is something special going on with science, technical knowledge. There's all kinds of things in there. Like, how is there the number that is quoted for the stated for the children, number of the children of Israel, the 12 tribes? That's exactly the number that they found to be the speed of light, like 2,000 years later, or 1,000 and a bit. Yeah. So I think because there's more than meets the eye, I think it's supposed to be that there is some allegory and maybe not metaphor. I think maybe that's the bit we've layered on ourselves, or through teachings of churches. Yeah, so I think it's a bit of both. I guess people think it's the word of God because they're told that in churches. How much is it? It's so obviously man-made, put together. But how much of it in there is divine? That's something to dig into. Okay, next question. So what's your take on God and the Trinity? God and the Trinity. Well, at this point in time, because I've done previous videos on where I think God is and who and what, and trying to get to a thing there of an understanding. And so I think there is some kind of Trinity for some reason. 3 is like a really special number. And I think of Tesla, 369, and him saying about the key to the universe, if you understood the power of 3, 6 and 9. The fact that the Druids, who, anyone of any clout in ancient Rome and Greece and all that, they used to send their sons to the Druid universities across ancient Britain. So then they had 3 was a big thing. That's why apparently it was easy to take on aspects of Christianity, because the Trinity, the number 3, was already there. It's already embedded in what they know, and it's across the world, number 3. So there is something. I'm not going to, it's a whole video's worth just to go into that, but yeah, I think that in a sense that, I think that Jesus is God in human form. God is potentially like either head of the Sky Council, or that is just literally the God of our thing, of our bit that we know it, like our universe or our solar system or something. Maybe even it's as minuscule, maybe. But so beyond that, it's either God is the God of head of Sky Council, who is like the God of everywhere, every universe, every people's, every whatever, or the God that we would put as God it's just the Sky Council for this, like a massive area, like a universe or something. But yeah, not sure. So if God is the head of a Sky Council, then where has God come from? Because that's like, even if he is the most highest consciousness, all powerful, there could be like the next level up, which is divine source. It's the foundation of all being, the omnipresent, the animation, the consciousness, the thing that comes into us and we become alive, we're breathed. And so that would be like your Holy Spirit. So God then is, maybe that's in the same way that Jesus is God in human form, God is this sort of design and eminence of this divine source of all life, the energy source, the frequency, the resonance, the not quite inner being becoming into a being. So whilst angels and all the rest of them underneath are certainly ethereal and all the rest of it, he's literally the top of the pile. And maybe because, yeah, I think you're going to ask me probably another question that I'm going to stop there. Where do you stand on the Garden of Eden and original sin? Oh yeah, so that's the exact question. So there does seem to be a bit of confusion, and this is information that's come. Well, I don't know. I've listened to Bill Donahue for a long time, so I've already had different understandings of the Garden of Eden and original sin, and lots of other people since, but he's one that stands out. But just recently, Israel Anderson, and looking at his video, Two Gardens, One Snake, and he's really like, just in black and white, he's pointing to the fact that the snake would be Jesus Christ. The snake wasn't the devil, that Yahweh actually is the satanic one, the devil one. And he backs this up with other things that are said in later books. So I'm interested to see whether I remember these things and they pop up. But yeah, that turns everything on its head. And original sin. Yeah, that story's been fiddle-faddled around with. And this thing of original sin. So either, see again, stuff I'm learning at the minute about St. Paul and him. He had, I don't know, it's like, how much is he right on and how much isn't he right on? I don't doubt by his fervency that when he had having the vision of Jesus Christ, or hearing Jesus, I don't think, and again, this is why you need to read the detail with your own eyes. Did he actually say that he saw Jesus, or because he was blinded by a light and he heard Jesus? But this is people like me doing videos like this. You've got to read it for yourself to really see what is said there. But he did change after that. Like, he went from being absolute Pharisee and all about the Judaic law and banishing and, killing the Christians, and he was on his way to Damascus to do in some more, and then he had this vision, or heard Jesus or whatever, and then his life went hell-bent the other way. So he was really fervently into the Christian thing. Now that's either because he had a massive ego and he saw an opportunity, but he can't have seen an opportunity to think that he's going to be like the head of some amazing big thing. And that's certainly not what he was faced with. He would speak to like a handful of people and then he'd get kicked out of the town and stoned for his trouble. And so, but he carried on all the way to his death. So yeah, whatever happened on that day, he was a lot more committed. But it does seem, so the thing of like, suddenly saying that, it's all going to be for Gentiles as well now, and Peter and James getting pissed off with that because that's not what Jesus was talking about. It was all about, he was a good Jew and blah, blah, blah. But I had it explained to me this morning by my lovely supervisor. She said that Paul argued the point that it wouldn't work in countries like Turkey because they didn't have those Jewish traditions, but it was about spreading the gospel and spreading the word. And that, I think, if I'm right, is in Damascus, on the road to Damascus, is what Jesus requested him to do. It's said that he's the one that's diverted the church, and but then you hear that the Roman Catholic Church, they corrupted or changed things that he said and wrote. So, but there's a lot about this thing of original sin with him, and I'm not sure we were born sinners. There's a lot to dig into in that Eden story and really understand what Israel's saying to get to grips with. But again, this is such a huge thing. I'm learning so much at the minute, and it pushes and pulls me in really different directions. And yeah, it takes me a while to get clear on some of the answers sometimes. Who do you think Satan is? Real? Ethereal being? Fallen angel? Doesn't exist at all. So listening to Israel Anderson, Yahweh is Satan, and that is Satan is the adversary, and it's another one I'm still picking my way through, and I'm in my mind, and obviously I need to read the text to really, to dig into it and look at the references that he's given. I am inclined now. I was like, oh no, there wasn't a Satan, there wasn't a devil, assuming those two are the same thing. But starting to come more into learning about the war, spiritual war that's going on in realms somewhere, potentially. This is the thing, is you can think these things, but something. Some of this still sounds really fairy story, and I've seen some stuff that, like, I know really it probably isn't. So yeah, maybe it just sounds crazy saying it, but I do think that it's adding up, that there is some sort of like a Star Wars thing, a dark and a light forces. That language is used a lot, isn't it? And but light really has a lot to do with it. There are many things that people have become like, oh, darkness is really scary. But actually, things like the dark night of the soul, you need that. That's darkness. The darkness down in the earth, you need that, where seeds are like, and shoots are growing, they're germinating and getting ready to grow. And then when the earth goes the right temperature, they burst out. They needed to be in that darkness to then see the light so that they can shoot. I mean, there's lots of things. So yeah, I have come to think that I think even because you can be so preconditioned to think of Satan as in the devil, and you can imagine the devil character, and that seems not so real. I don't doubt that there's some sort of a being that looks like that, I'm sure, but different depictions that you've seen, but maybe it is an illustration that we've just got used to and made fixed in our minds. As for there being a Yahweh and him being the adversary to humanity and Jesus and everybody else, yeah. So if we're saying that Yahweh's Satan, yeah. Where did he go? Did he die? Do we know that he died? Does it say in the Bible that he died? Or was he from the time which he was pre-flood? So, yeah, he was pre-flood. He had to be in the Garden of Eden. Oh, God. So, he would be one of the ones that lives forever. So is he still here on this planet now? Do you have any theories on Noah and the Ark and the Great Flood? Yeah, Noah's Ark. Oh yeah, I love that story with the two little animals going on. And then I found out from QI, from Stephen Fry, that there wasn't two anyway, because some of them there's 5 and 7, and again you've got to read the text. And the thing about Noah's Ark is, of course, that is the rendition or the story as it's been put in the Bibles that we know. But if you know anything about the work of people like Graham Hancock and I want to say Freddie De Silva, not sure why, but anyway, definitely Graham Hancock, then you'll know that flood narrative. Oh, and also Paul Wallace, Aussie guy. Then you would know that there were flood narratives all around the world, and yeah, all a bit different, all a bit the same. But again, that one's, need to dig into that one for sure. ET's in the Bible, yay or nay? This is one I'm really looking forward to getting into, but my position at the minute, yay. Do you have any ideas or theories on how Jesus spent his missing years? Yeah, his missing years. This has fascinated me since I was a child. Oh my God. And it's what I got to dig into when I was on my ministry course. Excuse me, my nose is running. Oh, it's winter. When we did the Christianity semester, and I that was the key thing that came up for me, and read all the fantastical books. The Ivanich guy, the Russian who went to the Buddhist monastery in, was it Tibet or Nepal? Anyway, and he that is quite famous. That he wrote this. It's nice. I love this book because it's a little thin one, and it's the translation of texts that are held in this Buddhist monastery where he broke his leg and he had to heal his leg, and he's reading about Jesus' visiting India and up in that area, and yeah, learning from the Hindus and the Buddhists, and then to find that he came to England, and the Jerusalem hymn did those feet in ancient times, tread on England's pastures green. I think that happened as well. Yeah, it makes perfect sense when you learn things about his uncle Joseph Arimathea, and then the books I've read since. He absolutely came here, and that's amazing. And I'm from the southwest, where his little feet would have trodden. I have trodden, so that's exciting in itself. Christ, man, God, God, man, God, divine, teacher. Teacher comes to mind, but that sounds really, he was humble. I guess he did just come here to teach. I don't think he came here wanting to start a church, and I'm not sure that he and God really want to be worshipped. That's something I want to look into. At any point, are we told to worship them? Or are we actually because Jesus in one or two of the books, he's saying, you can do stuff like I do. You can be as great as me. You probably are as great as me. In fact, you are. You're better. So, yeah. I think that there's definitely something about him, like there would have been something about Shiva and Buddha, Lao Tzu. There would have been some presence. There would have been something about him. I think Jesus was one of those people that could be walking from like a horizon and people would start sense him coming, that something is coming. And when you're stood in front of him, I would imagine there would be some sense of sort of, feeling like electricity or something. Now that's it can be God, it can be a huge dollop of the Holy Spirit coming direct through. He refers to God as Abba or Father, but Abba like Dad, like Daddy-o. Familiar, like a kind, close bond. So yeah, I want to look at what he says and where he says he comes from, and this thing of it, God and Father, and how he talks about it and refers to, his Father. Is he Father and Son at the same time, or is that the bit that the church has made up? I still think there's a Trinity. There's something going on with the number 3. And you do that. Did Jesus do that, or was it John the Baptist? It's John the Baptist. It's John the Baptist. 3. Whereas Jesus did 2. Like the Scouts. Now, what's your opinion on Immaculate Conception? Oh, this is such a juicy one. I am such a slow reader, but I tell you what, I've been reading Marguerite Rigoglioso, PhD, don't you know? Reading her book on the, there was mystery teachings and mystery school of Immaculate Conception, Virgin Birth. And this is like well documented and practiced in ancient Greece and in Egyptian times. And she's written, this is her 3rd book. So it's really focusing on Mary, but also Mary's mother Anne. And I'd also already listened to an audiobook, Claire Hartsong's, her book about Anna, Jesus' grandmother. And Marguerite actually references Claire's work, because Claire's book is channeled, so you can think, oh, channeled, that's like Away with the Fairies, that's not real, or so you can think, oh, fiction, but channeled is like potentially could absolutely be real. Yeah, it depends which way you look at the word channeled. I think I've got different, I think that's used in, it's like so many of these spiritual words and concepts and things, it's understood and used, certain words are used by one person in one way that another person takes in another way, but channeled, I certainly have instinctive messages, like we're different, some people are visual, some people are audio, some people are sensuals, I don't know, like it's gut instinct sort of thing, intuitive, yeah. So yeah, this really talks, so the Marguerite basically references Claire's channeling because it's exactly what she's found in historical evidence. And Dolores Cannon talked about this, and it's fascinated me for a long time. So to find this book in our brilliant bookshop in London, Atlantis Books, I'd gone up to the Warburg Institute to go and see this tarot exhibition. It was brilliant. And then the Atlantis Bookshop is not that far away from there. So I took the opportunity to go, and that book leapt out of the shelf. And now I really felt compelled to reading it. And oh yeah, I think I'll speak more on that when I get to the Gospels and draw on that book a bit more. What stories do you remember from the Bible? Obviously the Nativity, definitely. The Samaritan on the side of the road, for some reason, that's always stood out. Noah's Ark, yeah, definitely. Joseph and Technicolor Dreamcoat, we did that musical at school, great. Washing the feet with the oil. Was that Mary or Martha? Oh, it was Mary, I think, because Martha was moaning that her cousin or her sister was fiddling around with Jesus' feet, and he's like, hush you. She's preparing the way and she's doing good. No, there must be other stories. Oh, David and Goliath. Garden of Eden. Yeah, I think those are the standout ones. Oh, is it Jerusalem falling or Sodom and Gomorrah? Going round the walls with so many times. Be interesting to see what the number is with the horns and the drums and the rest of it. Sound. Interesting that sound can break down the walls. I have no doubt that it can. I'm interested to see whether that text is actually as I think it is, and that's what it really says. This is the thing, you've got to read it. What does it all really actually say? Yeah. Now, where do you stand on Paul versus the Apostles bun fight? Oh, God, Paul is a character that I've been wanting to dig into for a long time, or felt that I should actually. I haven't wanted to, because I've gone on the side of like, oh, he's going against what Jesus said, but again, I'm taking this from other people's opinions and their understandings of it. And what I find is it's not a case of cherry picking at all, but it's getting little golden nuggets from different videos. And some of it, it's not stuff necessarily that I agree with or I hold as a belief, but it's a comparison, or it gives a bit of history or a date or something, a reference or a book that I can look for myself to see how true or whatever, how much is opinion and thought or conjecture or proposing or whatever. So I'm really in two minds. Was Paul really like an amazing mystic and the church has hijacked him a bit, or what's the deal? Need to get into the meat of that really, and need to look at the history and the sociology and the sort of thing of the times and the area and the people, the customs and all of that. So I don't know, because then I got this thing like, oh, but James was Jesus' brother, like surely James would be more right. And then I have another thing come to me, but we'll come to that in the video. That's what I'm reading that book that is relevant to. And one last one, 12 questions, just like the Apostles. The cross, resurrection, all of that. Truth or trope? Truth or trope? At the moment I'm sitting with trope because it's happened before, But because it's happened before, this is like history repeating itself. This is like the sacred message coming back around in a cycle through a different avatar, or through a different, or maybe they've all been avatars before, but Jesus really was like God coming this time in this power, because it's come to, there's the smaller cycles and then there's the really big cycle, and maybe in the end, like Jesus was the last one. See, in Islam they would say the last prophet was Muhammad, but of course, there's, as I'm getting to know a history of Islam, as I understand it from something I've recently learned, he was trying to get Jews on board to grow his followers. And it sounds a bit like Instagram, doesn't it? Yeah, we're still doing the same thing, just in a different form. Funny. So he was trying to grow his followers, and so he was looking to the Jews for a few more likes and a few more subscribers. And so he was taking parts of the Bible. Now, again, whether that is how it actually is, or whether that's somebody giving their opinion on it, and people are speaking very much in a way like they know everything, or they really know that to be true, so they speak with such conviction. It can be very easy to get swept up with that sort of a thing. I suppose with everything, we all have our own opinions, and you have to get your own sense of it. But what I've been learning about is a book that's actually there that I haven't really read, or tried to come to my own understanding of what it all talks. And I really say that with absolute gratitude for all the scholars and all the content makers on YouTube, and the writers and the researchers and all the rest of it that produce amazing stuff, because I've learnt so much, and I've needed that, I think, to carry that into this study of all these individual books, because I would definitely be out of my depth, I would say. Saying that, though, part of this process is going to be meditating and contemplating on what I've read, and that's where I open up the conduit, as it were, to hear from God. So if I'm supposed to, or guides, or spirit, whatever, Jesus, Mary, then I'm going to open up those times of opportunity to do that, not take it all on ego basis or mind basis. Yes, I have to have the intelligence and the comprehension and all the rest of it, but ultimately this is a book about divine things. Whoever wrote it, this is a book about divine things that we're supposed to know about. So yeah. That's about the way.